Well, guys, this is our second to last Christmas podcast for this year, and we're just going to jump straight into it.
Yeah.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Charming Analysis podcast. Today, on our second to last podcast for the Christmas season, we are going to be talking about Klaus.
Klaus.
I don't even know how the fuck we're supposed to pronounce it. But, yeah, we're going to be talking about Klaus.
Yay.
So, for those who don't know, this is a Christmas movie that actually came out last year. This is one of, the newest Christmas specials that we're actually doing for the podcast this year.
Yep.
It's the newest one. It legit came out last Christmas. And funny thing, we actually watched this podcast when... not podcast. We actually watched this Christmas special last year when me and Jay first met.
Well, not first met.
Not first met, but when we were first started living together.
Yeah.
And that was it's crazy to think we actually see this movie a year later and a lot has changed.
I know. But we will get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. We'll eventually talk about that kind of thing, that story and stuff, on a later date.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be saving that for a podcast and stuff.
Yes.
But for now, let's talk about Klaus. So why don't you tell them what Klaus is for those who don't know?
Pretty much is an origin story for Santa Claus, or more important, or more more about the letters. What letter, who sends the letters to Santa? This is the postman's story of Santa Claus.
Yeah. So it's the original postman story for Santa Claus. So yes. This movie came out last year, and it's about a guy named Jasper who came from a rich family, and his dad ends up sending him to Smeersenberg.
Yep.
To learn how to be a postman. And it's on a fucking island in the middle of the sea. Mm-hmm. So, and these guys are dealing with a big-ass feud between each other. Mm-hmm. Between the Kromps and the... What's the other one's name?
Kromps.
Something else.
It's a whole
thing in and of itself.
It's a whole,
It's a feud between two families, yes. Kind of thing. I keep forgetting...
feud between two families.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, if you think about it, it's basically thick people versus thin people. If you had to compare the two groups.
Okay, I guess.
You have to be, come on. You gotta...
I guess.
The guys with the red hair all are thick, while the guys with the black hair are all, skinny twigs.
Yeah.
It's like you're mixing Gru with,
That's character design, though. That's just easy character design.
Yeah. Wow. But, so yeah. That's basically the plot of Klaus. Mm-hmm. And it's an origin story for Santa Claus, in a sense. Or, I guess, Santa Claus. I guess would probably be how they say it in the story. So, I guess, why don't we talk about our thoughts with it first?
Okay.
And I'm going to point this out before I let you take over, honey. This is something I did not notice the first time we saw this, but something I noticed this time. And I don't know if anybody else noticed this or not, but am I the only one who thinks Jasper reminds them of Emperor Cusco from Emperor's New Groove? I fucking think so.
No, because everyone thinks that. Because I'm sure he was literally modeled
off of Emperor Cusco.
After Emperor Cusco. And literally the voice actor, I forget his name. I'm gonna actually look it up because he actually deserves a lot of credit. But the voice actor represents the same inflections like David Spade to a fucking T. Let me actually look up who this fucking guy.
Wait, David Spade was the one that voiced Cusco?
Yeah.
Who voices him?
Jasper. Jason. Where have I seen this guy before?
Jason S. Swatson something.
Jason Schwartzman.
He's done...
Schwartzman?
Yeah, he's done movies.
Done a lot of...
I'm trying to look.
He's done a lot of... okay. Yeah, oh yeah, that's where I recognize his voice. He's in Isle of Dogs as well.
He's in Isle of Dogs too?
Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, something we're going to point out, and then I'll let Jay take over and explain his thoughts, but first thing I thought of when I saw this dude was Emperor Cusco. He has similar mannerisms to him, similar voice to him, and similar character development in a sense. Mm-hmm. Like, he started off fucking rich and snobby, and then he learned what life is about. Yeah, and he becomes a softer man.
But Cusco is a more cynical character.
Yeah, he's way more... That's the only difference.
Way more cynical character.
He's way more cynical than Jasper. Mm-hmm. But it's a good comparison, though, because they're very similar in a lot of ways, yet very different. Like, Jasper at least had room in his heart way early on to kind of accept everything, while Cusco, in a sense, didn't discover it till, like, later in his story. Am I right?
Uh-huh.
But, yeah. They're very similar, but yet very different. But that's the first character I thought of when I saw and heard Jasper, was Emperor Cusco. And I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that, but...
No, everyone has thought that. That's why, like... Yes, that's why they look at this movie so fondly, is because literally this is just... like Emperor's New Groove, but like Christmas coded
and more modern
and less cynical, to be completely honest.
Yeah, but it's a very wholesome movie. Like, this movie, if you guys have not seen it, because this actually came out last year on Netflix, but it's really good. Like, honestly, one of the best Christmas movies like I've seen in a very long time. Mm-hmm. Like, in my opinion, it's a good movie. But yeah, I'm going to let Jay take over because I'm going to ramble for a bit, and I'll probably do my thoughts after he does his thoughts. Mm-hmm. So why don't you go first, honey? You get to do the honors.
Well, I mean, I've been not following, but I've seen this like particular production being followed upon. Like, I remember seeing like an old pencil drawn animated like version of this like a couple of years ago on their like main channel, and it's like so crazy to think like they got like this project done, and it's just I'm really happy because it's like it's a movie that regardless of like whether or not it's Christmas, it doesn't like, you know, it's not like Arthur Christmas where
it solely focuses on Christmas. It's solely
focuses on Christmas. It's just pretty much solely focused on making like children happy.
And that's something that is a good thing to have, especially in today's society with a lot of like bad stuff going on and a lot of kids probably going through a lot more traumatic stuff. Mm-hmm. We kind of need to have more wholesome content like this, because not a lot of stuff these days is wholesome. Sad but true.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of wholesome stuff these days, and a lot more kids are going through a lot of stuff. Like, some kids aren't able to afford getting gifts, and some kids are just, you know, not able to, like, have a good Christmas.
Yeah, I mean,
which is sad. I don't like thinking that, but it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't celebrate Christmas,
it's a good holiday film.
It's a good holiday movie.
Yeah. And, like, I'm glad that we actually have a nice, modern, wholesome film like this, because I feel like with today's society, I feel like a lot of kids could, like this and watch it. Mm-hmm. And, like, I'm glad Netflix brought it onto their platform, because you were telling me that you don't think this would have done good in theaters. At least from your perspective.
No, it wouldn't. It really would.
So I'm glad that
it would be a select screening if lucky.
Yeah.
And it honestly...
And that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it got more attention because Netflix got it.
Yeah, but it's a good film. Yeah, like, it's got a lot of potential, and it's also, fun fact, traditionally animated. It was made traditionally, which is something...
Traditionally with... Of course, you're gonna make it with, like, you know... I'm sure that they had puppets. I'm sure.
Yeah, they probably did, but they used a lot more traditional aspects with this film.
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
More advanced technology for 2D. I should say that.
Yeah, but it's still traditionally animated. I'm still gonna say traditionally animated because that's technically what it is. They just add a couple things here and there to, like, make it pop a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, cell shading and stuff in it, but it doesn't take away from the traditional animatedness. I can't think of a better word. But it doesn't take away from the pencil paper aspect of the film. And that's something I'm happy that this does. Like, I know we've advanced in technology to the point where everything's pretty much going to be in fucking 3D. And it looks good and stuff like that. And that's not a bad thing. But sometimes we kind of need to go back to our roots. And I'm glad this is like a film that you can go back to your roots on. Mm-hmm. Because it's a good film. Like, it's a genuinely good film that I wish more people knew about. I don't know how popular this got when it came out, but I really do feel like people need to see it again.
Yeah, well, everybody needs to see it. At least, like, one time. If not multiple times, because it's the amount of effort that the team put into this, the amount of effort that, like, you know, went into this, and the amount of credit it receives, it's all worth it. It's all worth it in the end, and I'm happy that we might get more of these in the future because of streaming, because of, like, you know, new opportunities. You don't have to just release it in the theater anymore to be successful.
Yeah.
Like, you can, like, release it on streaming and it'll do as well, if not better. So I'm excited to see more from this particular studio.
What was the studio's name again for this?
SFA.
Is this their, like, first film?
I don't think it is, but it's just I think it'll be more accessible to people
if you do it on platforms.
Yeah, because what this gives me is, like, you know, with animation like this coming up, it's like Spider-Verse started it. It's like the new fucking wave where, like, I think there's some really good, like, influences in the animation, like, few films that come out that influence animation game.
And, like, Spider-Verse, this is one of those.
This is, like, starting a new trend where people are trying to add, like, different, like, styles to animation. And
like, they're doing traditional animation along with the 3D. Like, they're basically doing, like, a mixed media kind of film.
Yeah, mixed media.
And that's something that is a good thing to see, especially for people that do mix media. Like, a lot of artists these days do mix media. So it's nice to see a kind of project like that, because not everybody is doing, like, 3D stuff with puppets or, like, 2D stuff, like with pencil and paper. Some people, like, I know my Bean does both. Like, they do, like, use all kinds of materials and stuff. And I feel like a lot of modern artists these days do that. Like, they use what they have.
Well, they're adapting. They're adapting to programs to make it they're adapting to new programs where you can do so much with 2D now that it's unlimitless.
Yeah.
And it, honestly, this film is just another progress of that. I want to see another Spider-Verse. I want to see another Klaus. I want to see more of these movies come out.
I think they're starting to do that.
I want them to have good stories, also like Spider-Verse does, also like Klaus does.
And make it memorable.
Make it memorable, because if you just, like, it's not going to be memorable if you don't have, like, you know, good characters, good story. And it's, I just especially just like the fact that, you know, this has a gradual change of a guy who did make the decisions he did for selfish reasons, but over time he started to enjoy his life and, like, you know, saw the value in it. And I'm so happy that it didn't have to resort to the, oh, well, you know, like, you know, now that I'm like, you know, lie reveal thing. It's like, oh, now that this happened, we need to take, like, a 10-minute break. It's like, no, I'm putting my foot down and I'm gonna say that this is a good life that I have. It's like, thank God, like, fuck. I just, but it does it in such a way that it's like, this is not really a movie that's really aimed, like, all ages can watch it, but it's more of a
coming of age story.
No, it's more of a, no, that's what I was gonna say at all.
Oh, okay.
It's a film for smaller demographic children. I would say, like, you know, all ages can enjoy it, but it's not like how would you say, anything all that, like...
Great.
It's great, but it's not anything all that's, like, too adult. It's not like something where Pixar does it, or, like, I would say Brad Bird does it, or something like that. It's not like one of those... It's not a Brad Bird production. It's not even a...
It's not even a Disney production, in a sense. Like...
I'm gonna compare it to Disney, but it's not a, what's his fucking guy's name? Wes Anderson. It's not a Wes Anderson production.
Yeah.
It's not really much. It's not a live action director going into animation.
This is literally like a person that's trying to... This is literally a company that wants to do more mixed media stuff. Like...
This is from a guy who wanted to tell a story of Santa in a very charming, kid-friendly way.
Yeah.
And it works. It's a season that opportunity. I'm glad we're getting more films like that. I doubt that we will, because honestly, I don't know why people don't want to touch Santa Claus anymore. I wonder why people don't want to do more holiday movies anymore, because
think about it.
We're missing it. We're missing out on a lot of good ones. Like,
honestly, yeah. Even though, like, this came out last year, this is still, like, a more recent film. Like, the last Christmas movie I can think of that wasn't, like, a TV special that came out was, like, Arthur Christmas or something.
That came out in 2011.
That came out 2011?
Yeah, that wasn't a big
do you know
hit.
Any other ones
that was not a big... I'm assuming also they didn't put this in theaters, because Christmas movies do not tend to be big hits anymore.
Which is sad, because some people just kind of need,
people want to see this. People want to see fucking Star Wars on Christmas. That still pisses me off.
Why Star Wars?
I don't know.
Where's the good shit?
Where's the good Christmas shit anymore? Like, where's the fucking holiday spirit? Where are my Hanukkah movies? Where are my Kwanzaa
Exactly.
movies?
Like, that was another thing
where are those movies? Like,
that's what I was gonna mention.
Someone make them.
We enjoy the Christmas stuff because me and Jay personally both celebrate Christmas, but the only... well, in a sense, we do.
You do.
Well, what do you celebrate?
Nothing.
You just celebrate with me.
I celebrate nothing.
But yeah, anyway, I technically celebrate Christmas, but I would like to know about other stuff besides Christmas.
I'm just in it for the cookies. That's pretty much all.
I know you are, but don't be a butt about it, you butt. But yeah, like, I would like to know about, like, Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and stuff like that. And even though I don't personally celebrate, I would like to know about it so I can help people and celebrate a little bit with them. Yeah. Like, the only Hanukkah thing I can think of was the Rugrats special. And that's, like, really it. And like, the Handy Manny, like...
Handy...
that's a thing. Like, Handy Manny actually talked about Hanukkah and Kwanzaa a little bit.
The only thing I got it from?
What?
Blue's Clues.
They did Hanukkah in that one?
No, they did like a thing where like they went to people's houses and they went to go see what they look. It's like an episode.
Okay, but I meant like, you know.
I know.
We don't really see much of that, and even though I don't personally celebrate Hanukkah or like Kwanzaa and stuff, I would like to learn about it so I can understand it and, you know, show appreciation for the people that do celebrate it. You were a little butt. But yeah, like...
I'm sorry, I sometimes talk without knowing what I'm going to say.
It's fine. But yeah, that's something that I feel like we need more nowadays. And like I know this isn't a Christmas related film, but it's supposed to come out near Christmas. Like, another film that I feel like is going to get really good over time, I feel like, is Wolfwalkers, like we did a review on. Like, I feel like that's another movie that I'll go into a little bit, and then we'll get back to Klaus, but that's a movie I feel like that is also gonna leave such a big impact. Like, it's got a great story, even though it's not Christmas related. It does have wholesome moments, and it does mix, from what I can tell, like traditional and like digital media and stuff like that, like another mixed media film. Like, nowadays I feel like we need that. We need some people to understand what kinds of media they have and how you can use that to make a film. And you don't have to just focus on 3D. You can focus on 2D. You can focus on, like, you know, other stuff. You could do a mix of both. Heck, some people will use watercolor backgrounds in their films, and they they do the animation over it. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff nowadays. We have technology and, like, all kinds of, like, products to make film. And I'm happy that people are finally starting to use what they have. And it's something that I'm glad that we're pushing toward. You know what I mean, honey? Mm-hmm. And we got so sidetracked, but I don't care. I feel like it has to do with the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not really going to say we got sidetracked. But let's get back to the movie. So what is something you like about the movie and something you dislike about it?
I don't really dislike much from this movie. Let's
Same.
get that first off.
Same here. Like, there's not really much to dislike.
Nitpick about it.
It's not going to make it better.
But that's just average kids movie tropes, to be honest.
Yeah, and
most of the stuff I can nitpick is classic kids movie tropes.
But it's done to in a way that's not. It's passable. It's done in a way that's not going to really bother you, right? Or do you feel like they do it differently, or?
I like that you keep putting words in my mouth.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I tend to do that.
Yeah, I know you do.
Sad face.
We both have ADHD. I don't have much to complain about with this movie. I think it's a really cute kids movie. I think that, in all honesty, I think kids movies are lacking a lot of soul and charm now. I
agree.
There's no wonder in these fucking movies anymore. It's like, sometimes you just don't need like a big like grand world, or like you just need atmosphere, dude. You need atmosphere. You need quiet moments. You don't need everybody fucking jumping around and shouting at the top of their lungs and being overly animated.
We're looking at you, Hotel Transylvania.
Oh no, I'm not talking about that.
Oh, what are you talking about?
I wasn't talking about that. I was literally talking about every single fucking like
movie.
No, I was talking about Illumination. I was talking about Illumination.
Okay, I know.
The pioneers of making shitty animation.
We get it.
But it's not just that. It's fucking DreamWorks. It's DreamWorks. It's Disney. It's Pixar. It's
everybody.
Everyone's guilty of this in animation, not just the major studios. But I honestly think that we just need more charm. We need more atmosphere in these fucking movies. And if they're all just gonna go to streaming or whatever, then we're not gonna, like, you know. It's sad to think I'm not really gonna see it much in theaters, but it's great
gonna
to
get
see
to
it
that
somewhere.
point.
It's great to see it somewhere. I mean, making this a holiday film is just a cherry on top, because regardless if it was a holiday film or not, I don't care. I still think this is good. I think it's written like I think the dialogue is very, just how it's delivered and how it's written is very just.
You can tell that they're very passionate about it.
Yeah, they're very passionate about it. It makes sense. It flows naturally. That's what I was gonna say. It flows very naturally. Feels like real dialogue, and whenever a movie can do that for some reason, I don't know why. It's very hard to stray from something like, you know, just regular talking and not having to like use most cliche dialogue, or just, you know,
just the average stuff,
wild inflections. But you don't really need that. You just need to make it a fucking decent scene and contribute to every scene decently. Like, not I don't know. I don't know the nuances of making animated films, and I don't like, you know, I don't like, I'm not the person to talk, I should say. But yeah. I still, though, I think that's just what's missing. That's what's missing in animation.
A lot of films.
That's just what's missing in animation. TV is okay, but film
kind of is lacking in it.
Film has been lacking since past decade, I want to say.
Which is kind of disappointing, because, like, I know every project is putting passion into it, but some people put the extra mile into it.
Yeah.
And stuff. And, like, for me, I don't really dislike anything about this film and stuff like that, but I agree with Jay on this. Like, there's a lot of stuff in media nowadays that they're just doing the bare minimum. Some companies are just doing the bare minimum just to make the money. And I know a company has to make money, but you also got to make something memorable, because what are people going to look back on in, like, several years? Like, what are people going to look back on from, like, the 2010s? Like, or at least in this sense, because 2010 is basically done. But what are you guys going to look back on, like, when 2020 is, like, over with? Like, when the 2020 era is done? Like, you got to have something to look back on. And I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. I get it. However, you guys got to do what you can. Like, when we have, like, these, like, I guess, example of something we should talk about before we, like, I guess, go into, like, one more thing and then rate the film. Mm-hmm. But something I am going to talk about, the thing that films are lacking is stuff that TV and stuff is doing. And just online media in general. Like, TV and online media these days are talking about topics that I feel like should be talked about. Like, I'll give a couple examples. Like, Has Been Hotel is doing something different about characters in hell. Hell of a Boss is doing stuff similar to that, except they're doing it more like a sitcom kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You have other stuff like Bravest Warriors that came out, like, years ago by the same people that made Adventure Time. You got other stuff like that. You got Hilda, who came out, like, the second season came out, but we still need to watch it. Yeah. But we do plan on watching it next year. Where they're, like, doing, like, stuff off of, like, adaptations of books, but they're making it and animating it in a way that is memorable for people. Like, you have to do if film wants to stay alive and make an impact on society at this point, they need to start covering topics that aren't being talked about. Like, example with Disney. And I know they're probably not going to do it. Sad to say, but they're probably not going to do it unless that many people demand it. We need to start seeing LGBT representation in some kind of Disney film. Except, not from, like, just minor characters, but please make a main character gay.
You know, I like that we were talking about Klaus, and now we're talking about just the animated medium.
I know, but we kind of got into that with this. But, like, it's true, though. You need to start getting into the stuff that's going to make an impact at this point. And that's something that we can always talk about in a topic video. We can save the rest of that discussion for, like, a topic video. If you guys would like to see a topic video about that, please let us know. I think this is the topic video, because we barely have talked about Klaus in this Klaus-related podcast. I'm sorry.
We're so fucking ADHD, we don't even know what the fuck we're doing. Okay, good animation, good characters. I like J.K. Simmons' voice acting, but I like Jasper's voice acting a lot better.
Yeah, Jasper has the best voice acting in pretty much the whole film.
Yeah, he carries every single emotion with his voice, and I honestly don't know how he does it.
Please have him in more films. Jasper's voice actor, please do more films. We need more dudes like you in this.
So I can't say his name.
Jason S. I'm just saying that. Let's just get back to Klaus before I keep getting off topic.
I know.
But, okay, so we know Klaus is really good. Mm-hmm. We know there's not really too many flaws about that we can really talk about, because a lot of it is just, like, you know, basic stuff. But how do you think people are going to... If we look back on this...
a year ago.
I know, but what do you think it would be like if we look back on this, like, by the end of, like, the 2020 era? Do you think it's still going to hold an impact?
In 20 years, this is going to be, like, a fucking classic. Like...
You feel like it's still going to be a classic?
Yeah, it's still going to be here. Especially it's online. Fuck. Well, we're going to, like, you know, this is going to be commemorated. Like... You know, this is already, like, you know, it's been nominated for an Oscar, so people aren't going to forget about it anytime soon.
Well, that's good.
Should have won, to be completely honest.
Honestly, yeah.
I know you didn't see Toy Story 4, but fuck.
Why? This did so much better than that, and I'm disappointed with that, too. The fact that this didn't get any kind of, like, award is the sad part.
I'm sure it did at the Annies. I'm sure
it probably did.
Sure it did it anywhere else but the fucking Oscars. But who gives a shit about the Oscars?
Yeah, at this point, like, the Annies and stuff is probably like
Oscars is just an excuse to suck off white men. That's pretty much what
we get the point.
Job well done. Anyway. No, this wasn't made by a white man. This was made by a person of color.
Wait, it really was?
Yeah.
Klaus was?
Yeah.
What?
Person of color.
I didn't know that either. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And I'm hoping he does more work.
Me too.
I can't wait to see what he does.
Honestly, yeah.
Because this is going to be a fucking hard one to beat, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, this is probably like one of the best. Honestly, I'm going to say this now. This is probably the best Christmas one we reviewed this year. I'm going to put that hands down right now. I feel like this film is probably the best one out of all the ones we've done so far that's been really good. Mm-hmm. And I know the next two films we're going to watch are not going to top it, but I'm still happy we decided to review this one this year because I feel like after the wreck that 2020 was, we fucking needed a movie like this. And I know this came out last year, but fuck 2020. This year
we needed it again.
Sucked, and we needed to see it again. It's one of the reasons we picked this one for this month and this year. Yeah. So, enough rambling about that. Let's just give our rating. So, what do you give your rating for this before we talk about one more thing and then end the podcast?
9 out of 10. I really like it.
10 out of 10?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much of a... I don't... Like, it's a very tiny bit. It's just you're more enthusiastic than I am about it because it reaches your childhood.
Honestly, yeah. This thing, to me, brought back a lot of, like, childhood... Like, good childhood memories that I'm happy that are being shown again, in my opinion. It's just... This is such a good movie. I'm very passionate about this. This is one of those, like, modern movies that just plays with your feelings, but in a good way.
Hey, it's a modern movie I can call a classic. That's
honestly, yeah, it's a modern classic movie. That's a hard thing to say nowadays, which is kind of sad. Especially, like, we've seen all kinds of classic movies this year. Like, that you've shown me and that I've showed to you. Mm-hmm. Probably you more than me, though. But... it's fine. Anyway, for my rating, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Like, the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because I feel like this is one of those movies that we're still going to look back on it, but I don't want to give it that perfect 10 because I feel like if I do...
I'll probably get a perfect 10 later, to be honest.
Yeah. I feel like eventually I would give it a perfect 10. It's one of those ones where it could be between a 9.5 and a 10. In my opinion. It can be either or.
I feel like when I get older, I'm going to appreciate it a lot more.
Same. So, yeah. That's basically the end of our Klaus review. We have one more podcast we're going to be recording tomorrow. And then once Christmas is done, we are going to do our end of the year podcast. But tomorrow we're going to be recording our last podcast. Well, last main podcast of the year. Mm-hmm. And that's honestly crazy. Like...
Yep.
That's a crazy thing to say because this is like our first like actual podcast that we've done this year. And I'm happy that we're going to still do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really proud of us. We came a long way.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
We did.
And we could talk about that more at the end of the year podcast. But after we record our Christmas one and post that tomorrow, we're going to be taking a break for like a couple days before we do our end of the year podcast. And then after that's upload, we're going to be taking a break till sometime in January. We'll be finally posting our season 2 start of the podcast. Mm-hmm. So, also, just a heads up before we close the podcast. Once the end of the year podcast is up, we are going to be putting up... we are going to be making a playlist for all of season 1, in quotes, of the podcast. Mm-hmm. So that way, if you have a film you want to go back and watch in like a couple years, once we do more, you'll have a playlist there to watch all the ones we've done this year. We've done quite a bit. Like, we did quite a bit this year. I think we started in May.
I think.
We started like May, June-ish. And we did pretty good, in my opinion. I feel like we got a lot done. But I feel like we can do a lot more. But we're going to try not to push it too much, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just trying to make it content we all both enjoy and we both love. But we'll talk about... You guys will hear us talk about that more at the end of the year podcast. But that's the end of our current podcast for now. We hope you guys enjoyed us talk about Klaus. And I'm Mari.
I'm Jay.
And we're out.